Hey, what's up? I'm Ray Green, former CEO turned entrepreneur. For the past 5 years, I have been consulting, and LinkedIn has been my primary, not quite exclusive, but pretty damn close client acquisition system. And I've generated now more than $3 million in client sales from LinkedIn alone. And a member of Repeatable Revenue, which is my online business incubator, recently asked, how would you start over? Like if you were doing this all over, knowing what you know now, how would you set it up? Now, I sat down to make a checklist for him because he's a member. So I was actually just sitting down, writing a checklist, and the checklist just went wild. It's now an 8-page document, which I've got linked in the show notes. And this is a 90-minute, very tactical, step-by-step, actionable training on how to get going with LinkedIn. Like, how do you use LinkedIn to make money, to get clients? Now, let me clarify something. This is not like a 90-minute webinar pitch where I'm just going to sell you shit the entire time. Okay. Like, this is meant for somebody in my program already, and step by step actionable stuff all the way through. So you can grab the document, you can actually skip forward to parts that you want to jump to. This is a training. It is actually meant for somebody who was already paying me, who was already investing in our program. So I wanted it to be actionable. I wanted it to be very tactical. And that's what you've got here. Now I'm going to go through a couple high-level things to get you started, like what you need. I'll go through some fundamental and foundational stuff. I'm not going to go into like the 101. Like, I assume you know how to set up an account. I assume you know how to add a profile picture, add a banner, and that you get the basics. This is the 201, the 301, the 401. This is, how do I get clients? How do I turn LinkedIn into a client acquisition system? Now, who this is going to be best for, frankly, probably a solopreneur, probably like a solo or a small service provider type of shop where you've got time to invest. You've got some sweat equity to invest. You're not necessarily pumping money into paid ads. Like, you are getting going and you want to leverage the available time that you have to do the actions that are going to get you some sales. Now, if you're a larger service provider, I've got some other training for you. But if you're selling for a larger service provider, probably going to be pretty relevant for you here too. Now, the last thing I will say, there are some resources that I point to in this, again, is for somebody who's already part of our incubator and part of our community. So there's some links in there. You can actually get access to everything that's in there. There's a 7-day free trial in the show notes as well. So if you want to sign up, get access to all those trainings, watch them, binge watch and go through them, and then cancel, that's perfectly fine. Like, it's click to cancel. You have access to all the premium stuff that I've gotten here as well. So grab the document that I've got in the show notes. That's a good place to start. Just make a copy. Then let's dive in and start getting you some clients.
What you'll need to get started, LinkedIn Premium and Sales Navigator Pro. I think those are roughly between $100 and $200 a month, I'll say. But they do matter, and some of the options that are in there will be really helpful. Shield Analytics is a tool to help you take the analytics from your activity, from your posts, from your content, and see how they're performing and use some data. I'll talk about that here in a bit. Notion, there's a link here to grab that. The free version is absolutely okay. You don't need the paid version. Calendly, also the free version is fine. Calendly is a automated calendaring system to book calls. Dripify, which I'll go into at a high level here in just a bit, is automation for LinkedIn, like automating your outbound connection requests. Now, this is, like, stay with me on this one because there's a lot of ways to do this poorly, but there's a link here to grab it. And you don't have to necessarily use automation. You can scale much more quickly, but we'll talk about when to do manual versus when to do automated. And then I just put this optional here, is Kajabi. Kajabi is like basically an all-in-one platform for creators where you can house your courses and your funnel and your website, your newsletter and your podcast and a bunch of other stuff. I talk here a little bit about funnels. So I have a link to Kajabi if you're looking for a platform that you can use that is either all-in-one or simply for the funnel stuff that we're going to talk about explicitly in here. Now, the first place I would start is define what the goal is. All right. Now, I've already told you from this standpoint, the goal is, first, generate demand. Second, build an audience that you can market to forever. And what I mean by that is start building your list, right? Like, we'll talk about the funnel and getting people into your ecosystem. Your list becomes the most valuable asset in your business over time if you do this right. Building an audience that you can market to forever is second, and then create a brand that drives premiums. And this is really important because if you've been in the business of getting clients from places like Upwork or other job boards, then you'll know that it's really easy to get commoditized there. And it's because you have no brand, right? So if you get a client from LinkedIn selling the same service, you are almost guaranteed to make more money from that client who has reached out to you as a result of your content marketing or a result of what's on your profile or a result of a lead magnet than you will if you have a client pay you for the same work on Upwork, because you've been stripped of the brand, and the brand is what drives premiums. Okay. So we want to generate revenue. We want to build an asset, and we want to create some premiums. Then I would ask, like, okay, what does success look like in 12 months? Like from a quantitative standpoint, when you're measuring this and you look forward 12 months and you say, okay, I've invested a ton of time, a ton of effort, a ton of energy into this. What does success actually look like at that point? I would look at it in terms of number of new sales or clients, number of followers or connections, and cumulative reach on content through the platform. Now you'll see this basically correlates to the goals, right? Like that we said here, like what's the most important goal? Generate demand. Okay. How are we going to measure that? Well, probably number of new clients. Build an audience. How are you going to measure that? Number of followers. Create a brand that drives premiums, reach on content. Right. Now, these aren't perfect metrics, and they aren't, correlated exactly, but they're pretty damn close. If you're seeing these numbers, then you're probably going to be hitting these goals. If you find some other metrics, feel free to plug them in. The next thing I would do after clarifying what the goal is and what success looks like in 12 months, I'd start a simple scoreboard that I'm updating every week. We have one here. This is an older version. And you can see we've been tracking this for a long time. The growth from 2021, 2023, 2024, so you can see the growth. But I would get this on a Google sheet, and I would update it the same date and time around, give or take, every week, especially if you're using LinkedIn analytics and not using Shield analytics. But I do recommend getting a Shield account and plugging these things in so that you can look at not only the progress that you're making, because it's, you look at this, you go, man, I've invested a ton of time and a ton of effort. But when you see growth like this, you go, this is meaningful. Like, I'm not wasting time on social media. I'm actually creating something that's valuable. So progress is one reason you want to track it. But the other thing is you want to track what's changed. Okay. So like when you look at like here on the scoreboards, like we track up here, like, okay, this post was from this, no changes. So you can get data and what's going on. Last thing before I move on to some of the tactical stuff, my reach in terms of impressions on content is not nearly as high as a lot of people. In fact, a lot of my clients have much more reach, but they can't generate demand. So again, this whole system is really designed to be client acquisition focused first, but these are like the side benefits, right? Second thing I would do is get really clear on the strategy. Okay. Like at least have some high level strategy going into LinkedIn. Now this is part of it. Okay. Like getting your goal right, but you don't want to get on here and just talk to everybody, right? Like you don't want to just be, kind of flailing around and writing posts for everyone and just chasing reach for the hell of it and all of that. So a couple of questions that I would recommend knowing the answer to before you get started. Who are you trying to reach? What's the pain that those problems are causing? And what are your content pillars? And if you're a member of my community, throughout this document, I've actually got links in here to different resources that you can use to do all this, because I have some additional training in here. So like here, I would say like clarify your niche, right? Like, go through here and use the lessons that we've got and, clarify who your target market is, what problem you're helping them solve, what the pain that's associated with that is. And that's what's going to make your content resonate more. And that's how I can generate way more money per follower than almost anybody that I know. And certainly more than a lot of the people that I work with. The content pillars, similar, like we'll get into creating content and how much, but what you don't want to do is you don't want to just get on here and create content for the sake of creating content. And you don't want to fall into the trap of just chasing vanity metrics. What are the actual content pillars, and what are you going to use to ensure that you aren't just adding value and educating your market, that you're actually converting them into clients? Okay. Because it's not very fun educating people for a year that never give you money, right? Like you're not here to just give PSA, you're here to sell stuff. So you want to get clear around what are my content pillars and how am I going to convert people? If you don't know these answers, again, I really suggest getting some sense of this, at least as a hypothesis to get on. Like maybe you're even using LinkedIn to go test some of this out. That's fine, but go into it with a hypothesis of these things, and you'll be in better shape. Next thing, we're going to start with the profile. I've got some training in here. You can go through this. This is in more detail of turn your profile into a funnel. But we're going to hit on all these things. I would turn on creator mode And there's some instructions here to turn on creator mode. This isn't even mine. But if you want to, stop and pause this, you can come back and kind of go through these settings. But I would turn on creator mode. It's going to make some of these things, some of these options open up for you. I'm not actually going to use my profile through all of this. And there's a reason for that. Internally, at the time that I'm recording this, we're undergoing some strategic changes. And so I'm doing some things with the market that actually make my profile not fully optimized for client acquisition. Okay. So what I'll use for a good part of this is my wife's profile, because my wife's profile is more optimized for a specific market right now. Mine is not, and it's intentional, but it is worth looking at. Like if you actually want to look at the comparison to these, like things like the headlines, the banners, and see how I have it optimized and then how we have it optimized on my wife's profile. We'll get into this in a second, but like repeatable client acquisition and fulfillment for consultants. That's a hell of a lot clearer than intentional business and lifestyle design. So I'm going to use my wife's account on some of these. I'll use some other accounts as we go through too. First things first, let's look at the banner. And the banner is, the way I would look at this is a billboard. All right. This is one of the things that people first see when they get to your profile. So the question is this really clear? Like who you're helping? Is it clear who you serve? Is it clear how you help them? Is it clear what you want them to do? Okay. So here, repeatable client acquisition and fulfillment, join the most comprehensive growth community for consultants. So there's a light CTA or call to action in here. There's a clear problem and pain point, and there's a clear market, right? ICP, avatar, persona, whatever you want to call it. So there's some clarity here. All right. Now, just using mine as an example, consulting community and capital to help service businesses get more sales more consistently. That's much more broad. And that's going to get you fewer clients with your audience. Okay. It appeals to more people, but it's less specific to the people that it appeals to, what you do, how you help, what you want them to do. So a much better approach to this is going to be targeted messaging like this. All right. The profile pic, I mean, this is pretty common sense. Like, get a high quality picture, get something that's professional or on brand. Of course, I add the on brand because a lot of people would consider this not professional, but it is my brand, right? Like it's part of the beach lifestyle that we've had and created. So this is, by my standards, professional, but look at it and make sure high quality, professional or on brand, and that it's unique and stands out in the feed. Okay. Now this is really important because when you think of this, you don't want to just think about it from somebody who's looking at your profile. You want to look at it also as somebody who discovers your profile, right? So if I'm scrolling through my buddy Paul here, that your picture shows here as well. All right. So every time you comment, every time you engage, you're going to be sharing your picture, and you want it to stand out. You want it to pop, not necessarily just blend in, so that when people see it, you can use colors like Matt does here, like his stands out through that. You can use rings like Mary does here. She's got like, pink ring around here. You can do it in any number of ways. Just make sure that it has some pop and that it stands out in the feed. Then the headline. I cannot emphasize this enough, but the headline is the single most important tool in this entire process, in my view. If you do it right, your headline is going to sell for you. It's going to sell so you don't have to, right? When you're doing outreach and you're connecting with new people, they're going to see your headline. If it's written well enough, then it does some of the selling for you. All right. So this is not a place where you put CEO of, Ray J. Green's company. You don't put that, like the company name. You don't put your title. You don't put what you used to probably when you were using LinkedIn as a, job board or whatever the hell it was, who you serve, like who your market is, go back to your niche, what problem you help them solve, what results you help them get, and what you want them to do as a CTA. All right. So for example, repeatable client acquisition and fulfillment for consultants, who it's for, what we do, what problem we help solve, and a CTA. Join our community of consultants and fractionals to scale your services. All right. So in this, you've got this pretty, it's pretty powerful. Like if she reaches out to you and she connects with you, pretty quickly what she does, right? Whether what she does is relevant to you. Whether what she does is relevant to you. And if it is, what they want you to do. So that's how I think of the headline. Now, the other reason I say that this is one of the most powerful things is go back here, right? Go back to the feed and think about the feed in terms of people scrolling through. Your headline follows you everywhere. All right. So Nat, the business coach who actually runs a business. Okay. So every time he comments, everywhere he is, this is what's going to show. Donnie, business to business network, B2B networking, badass business, probably network. So as you go through, your headline's not only helping you sell, it's helping clarify to every single person that sees your profile as a result of you commenting and engaging with other people's content. So it helps you become more seen and clarity of what people see. Spending the time to get this right, researching it and, testing it and working with it is, I can't emphasize this enough. This is super, super powerful. Then the CTA. All right. So the CTA comes in a couple of ways on the profile for LinkedIn. All right. And I'm going to show you both examples. I generally recommend that you use the custom button. So what you'll see here is this is the visit my website. And so you click here and it goes to the website. All right. Now there's another option on LinkedIn to use a link here. All right. Now this in many ways may seem better because I can actually type this in. I can say what I want it to say. A 4-month bootcamp enrollment is now open. Okay, cool. I can clarify the CTA a little bit better. So in some sense, that may feel like the better option. The vast majority of the time, the button is a better option because the button follows you around, right? So when you're engaging with people or when they see you in the feed, they can click from here, they can click your website. All right. So if Sam is engaging with content and you see her in the feed or she posts up, something like she did here, she shared this post. So if she comes up in the feed, I can click on the CTA from my feed. That doesn't happen if you use the custom link on my profile that you see. That won't happen. I recommend the button most of the time. One thing to keep in mind is that these links up here, whether you're using this or the button here, these links actually get 33 times the traffic that the featured section does. All right. So think about that. This button or this link is going to get 33 times the traffic that your featured section is going to get. And we're going to talk about that in a second. But that means this is important. So you want to direct it to the place that you really want. Now, this until today, this was just a button that said visit my website. And then it went to my core website. This is specific, and the reason we actually changed it to the link is so that we can customize the text because we're launching this at the moment. But it's very limited in terms of enrollment. But that's like a good example of when to use one versus when to use another, right? Because I wanted to customize that enough because my content for the time being is going to be around this, and I want people to nag that when they get to my profile. All right. The one thing I recommend is when you're using these links in your profile is what I would do is I would set all of these links up with UTMs. UTMs are basically little codes that you can use to track the number of clicks that people are doing on your content. So you can actually see whether people are clicking. Why does it matter? Because if no one's clicking, well, then we probably need a better headline or a better asset or a better something, right? Like if I've got this up here and I see no one's clicked it in days, I go, all right, well, I clearly need to reword that. Or if we have it set up here, no one's clicking, then we need to try a different CTA, right? Like we can't change the text of that, but we can change, there are different options, like pre-built options that LinkedIn gives you, so you can change that. So if no one's clicking, that's one thing. But what if a bunch of people are clicking and no one's converting, right? What if a bunch of people are clicking that thing and you're not seeing any type of, signups or opt-ins or booked calls or anything? Then you know that it's the landing page, all right? Where you're directing them to is not doing its job, all right? So being able to track some stuff is really helpful. And it was really helpful for me starting out to figure out, all right, where are the highest leverage points? It's actually how I found out you can get 33 times the traffic at the top of the profile through this CTA than you do through the featured was with the UTM. So I just have a link here to Fathom, which is what I use for analytics. And this is a free UTM builder, right? So you can build your UTMs in here. And then, if you want to use a free trial, you can. Google Analytics actually also allows you to track the UTMs that you're using for your website. So I would definitely be tracking that. And then we go down to the featured section, this section here. And this is like where I would promote engagement with my funnel. All right. I look at this and I say, this is an opportunity to really promote my funnel to my audience. I'm going to be creating all this content. A few notes on this, use a professional picture, use something that's, so you can go in here and you can change the assets. I'll talk about the structure of those, but these are the different things that you can add. We can add like something like a direct offer. You can add, we have a free course. We have the community. You can change the media, right? Like you can change the picture, you can change the copy, you can change the text. So I would say, use a professional, good marketable picture. Use messaging that is them focused, right? So the problems that they're experiencing, the pains that they're experiencing, the solutions that they're looking for, not all about me. So the copy here, you can see like scale your consulting revenue in the next 180 days. Like that is more them focused. Okay. So it's like what they're experiencing, what they want, the transformation that they're looking for. And I think just in general, like all of your messaging, like that's going to be super helpful. Like if you have all of it that is them focused, not you focused. I broke this up into two categories. What do you put here, right? Like, so what assets do I actually need to put here? What I would say is if you have a website and funnels to use, and like a paid Calendly, like I set up here, like this is, you can use the free, you don't have to have Kajabi in a paid Calendly account. But if you have a funnel, right? Like if you have a website or if you have a funnel platform like Kajabi or ClickFunnels or something, and you've got Calendly set up, then I would have a link to a landing page with a top of funnel lead magnet. I would have a link to sign up for your LinkedIn newsletter, which I'll talk about later. And then a link to your bottom of funnel booking process or your booking funnel. I'll hit these in order. A top of funnel is basically people that are newer to your audience and you want them to opt into something and give you their email in exchange for going on your list. Now remember, that's our second goal, right? Our second goal is we want to build this audience that we can market to forever. So to do that, what we do is we get a good top of funnel resource out there for them to download, access, use. And in my case, that's like the client acquisition system. Okay, that's the only thing that we have on her profile right now. And this is pure top of funnel, right? Like you click on it and you're going to go to a landing page and then, you're going to go here and you're going to either get the course or you're not. Okay. And that's how I'm going to collect email. The middle of funnel is for people that are already in your ecosystem. And this is like a newsletter where people, after they've opted in, then what? Like, how are you staying top of mind? How are you continuing to engage them? How are you continuing to nurture them? How are you continuing to add value and educate them? Well, you do that with like a newsletter. And I have a specific reason for a LinkedIn newsletter when you're starting out that I'll talk about in a second. And then you've got a bottom of funnel booking process. Okay, that's like basically schedule a call. Landing page that says why I should bother booking a call. That is a Calendly premium. That you've got embedded. So you've got this landing page that they get to, they book a call. Then after they book the call, it takes you to a thank you page with a video that says, hey, thanks for booking, and reminds them, like, hey, please show up. Let us know if you have any questions or need to make any changes. And this is the value that you're going to get from this call, and also some content, so like you can have a couple posts, something that helps you build some authority. So you go from landing page to a thank you page to an email confirmation, and then, send them an email reminder about 24 hours before, and then send them an SMS reminder or text reminder. Most of this can be done in Calendly. Frankly, like if you've got the calendar, you can plug that in to a page, redirect them to a thank you page, and then just set all these things up in Calendly. Super easy. And then if you don't have a website, or you don't have like a funnel platform to use, or you're using a free Calendly and you don't want to set all this up, then what I would do is I would write a top of funnel post that links to a lead magnet or a resource or a CTA. And what I mean by that is, okay, instead of like on my profile where you click on this and you go here and you go to that page, all right, instead of doing that, what you do is you actually just write a post on LinkedIn. I'll use Brian's account because he's got this set up on his, because he doesn't have a funnel set up. So what he did was he wrote a post here. This is what I call a launch post. He launched his program, he launched his offer, and basically this is what a sales letter would do. And then from here, he can drive some of that traffic and tell people what he wants to do. So from here, you can say, this is your CTA, or shoot me a DM, or reply XYZ, or whatever it is that you want them to do. But you can use the post as your top of funnel lead magnet, basically, and then have a link to sign up for your LinkedIn newsletter. Again, I'll talk about that in a second. And then have a booking funnel with a process that just goes directly to your Calendly page. So you don't embed the Calendly calendar into an actual page. You just send it straight to the Calendly link. And within Calendly, you've got an email confirmation, SMS reminder, and an email reminder. Okay. So what you've cut out of here is the funnel. You've cut out the landing page. You've cut out the email opt-in. And this is just a trade-off. Like, this is simpler. This is, in a lot of ways more efficient. Long-term, this is more effective, right? Like, you're gonna capture more email addresses. You're gonna be able to market those people off the platform if you want to. You're gonna build the list. You're not necessarily gonna do that, but you are gonna build your connections. You are gonna build the list through the LinkedIn newsletter. And this is frankly just a choice. From day one, I basically started with funnel software, but I've seen and helped build several of these that don't have that and are still really effective. But really, more than anything, what you want it to kind of do is you want to have something where you've got something that is top of funnel, something that is middle of funnel, something that is bottom of funnel. Then you've got the services section. I actually don't use this right now on mine. But Luke uses it, and I think he does it really well, right? Like, it's, so you scroll down, so this is the featured section that we were just on. And again, you can see different lead magnets and resources. He's got his bottom of funnel, book a coaching call, some services here. This is probably more middle of funnel. Yeah, this may be top of funnel. So he's got different assets built into here too. But on the services piece, what you can do is just get like a good picture, that highlights, that's consistent with the rest of the profile and branding and everything. And then some language that is them focused. Again, not you focused. This is not, hey, I do XYZ. This is, are you this? So he's calling out his audience, and then, just has a quick CTA. The reason I like this is, one, it's short and simple. Two, it's, he's got some reviews. Three, he's got a decent picture. We aren't using the services section at the moment right now, just because that's not our primary focus. But again, you've got an example here. You've got some, lead with the messaging, RUA, are you looking to something like that? And then professional picture. Then we've got the about section, and the about section is, really, I think where people go wrong is they think the about section is like a bio, right? Like, there's, they want to read all about you, and they, like, at the end of the day, they want to read about you to the extent that they want to know that you're credible. They want to know that you know what you're talking about, that you're legit, and that you're real, right? So it should read more like a sales letter than it does anything else. And what I mean by that is, we've got Sam's account here, and we help consultants, fractional coaches create repeatable client acquisition and fulfillment. And so again, her profile is explicitly focused on a specific avatar. So it's like, this is going to convert at a much higher level than mine. So mine is not how I would write it if I was, exclusively focused on client acquisition right now, because this is my story, right? Like, this is, walked away from the C-suite, and, it's still relevant to that part of the audience, but it doesn't hit quite as hard, right? Like, if you get here, this is going to resonate, if this is you, way more than this will. Okay. So this line right here is a hook. And you want to be cognizant of that. I'll hit refresh just so that you can see. We help consultants, fractionals, and coaches create repeatable client acquisition and fulfillment system. You've got valuable knowledge and expertise to sell. Okay, got to see more. Now here we get into the rest of the sales letter, right? It says what we do, and then what the CTA is. All right, what we want you to do at the end of that. I have a couple of other examples in here. My buddy Marcus, also straight up sales letter in the about section. Me down here, feeling pressure from missing your number, not earning what you want as a result. We help AEs earn 250 to 500,000, develop record-breaking sales skills. Boom, sales letter. Boom, at the end. And then he's got, I'm sure down here, he's got the, CTA, one message away. Luke's about page. Let's see here. LinkedIn is the best place to build your personal brand. Creating content with AI is the future of marketing. Put the two together. All right, I'm intrigued, right? Like there's a question, boom, go through here, send me a message as a CTA. All right. I took this as basically a screenshot of our bio at the moment in case it's changed. But you can follow this as a structure if it's helpful. Address problems, pains, mistakes, right? Problems that they have, pains that those problems are causing them, and then the mistakes that they're making trying to solve this without your help. Right? I find those tend to be the highest converting and most impactful aspects of the messaging, which we have. I talked about that up here in the content pillars. Creating the content that actually converts, that actually makes money. So this is where those early stages and doing that actually help quite a bit. And then very clear call to action at the end, and your USP, your background or your USP is second. Okay. Now, if I was optimizing mine, what I would do is I might actually keep this, I might shorten this down, and then I might put a sales letter on top of it, right? Like I might start with a sales letter, something that's more like this, do a shorter version. And then if I still wanted to give the background, or I felt my story was relevant to sell something, then I would put a shortened version of this in. And knowing what your USP is really important. And if you're in the community, that's right here. And I'll add that link actually when we're done. So know your USP. You've got your about section dialed in. Then what I would do is I'd create a company page, and I would put the branding essentials on that page. I wouldn't spend a ton of time, making that thing try to be too big of an asset. But what we've done is, we've created one for repeatable revenue. In fact, I've got two on mine. One is on the consulting side, and where I work with larger companies, and one is the community that we have for consultants. And so both of these are basically little mini sales letters for each company. This is not necessarily, when I look at this is not an about section for the company. This is not like where you share your mission statement, anything like that. This is like everything else in this whole deal. This is marketing. All right. So what you're doing is you're helping clarify for somebody that's hitting here, like, is this for me? Right. Like, and so you do that with the company page, and you're going to use this a couple of ways. But you get here, and we didn't spend a ton of time on this company page, but it does help when you're looking at your profile. It does help validate, a little bit of, okay, like it feels like a real company when I look at it. It looks more professional. It seems more credible at first glance. Now, does it mean that everybody has a company page, has a real company? No, of course not. Like, it's one of the challenges of LinkedIn. But not having it, or having, a company here without a logo or without an image, puts you behind the eight ball, puts you behind the curve. So that's not what you want. So I'd create that page, and then you can use, the same or similar messaging to your personal profile, right? So what you can do is you'll see like this is very similar to what's on the about page, so you can be efficient. Once you've gone through the process of getting your messaging right and getting, dialing in the niche and everything there, you can reuse a lot of it. Okay. So like right here, we offer boom, boom, boom. You can see, we offer boom, boom, boom. All right. So, but the assets are still in place, kind of like a puzzle, like you want them all in the right place. So you set up the company page. Then I would look at the experience that goes with it. And that's what we're talking about here. Actually, this was more on the experience side when you set up the profile. This is what you plug in. All right. So get the company page, plug in your experience, make it a mini sales letter. I put this in here as a screenshot, just in case we've changed anything and you want to, follow like a format or a structure or anything like that. I'll leave that in there. Then we're going to install the funnel asset. All right. And this is a big chunk of this is on the featured section, but really what you want to do is just make sure that your assets are plugged in throughout the entire, your entire profile, right? So get like a lead magnet. For me, that's the course. And that's, so you're going to see that here. And like we were showing on Sam's, you're going to see that here. You're going to see that, in the featured section. So get that plugged in, but we covered that. Use UTMs, don't use a description, by the way, when you're setting up your assets. if you use a description, what it does is it actually requires 2 links or 2 clicks to get where you want. Okay. So when you add that section, say like go to my profile, and then we go to plug this in, we want to create a featured section, and then we're going to add, let's say a link to our website, and we're going to do www.rayjgreen. I'm going to add a title, but I'm not going to add the description. Because once I add the description, it takes 2 clicks to get where I want. So you just eliminate some of that, and nobody reads it anyway. All right, now let's talk LinkedIn newsletter. You need a middle of funnel asset that nurtures people in your sleep. Okay, once you get these email addresses, or once you get these people to opt in, or you get these people to read something and they come into your ecosystem, if you don't have a way to nurture people from just becoming aware of who you are to going into the buying pocket, right? Like they may not be ready to buy your stuff when you first reach out to them or first connect with them, but maybe they see some content, maybe they see some newsletters, and you've educated them a little bit. And then the situation in their business gets worse, or whatever it is. The middle of funnel asset that you're using to communicate with them on a weekly basis is going to be the thing that helps you stay top of mind and be in the right place at the right time, and increase the surface area of serendipitous luck happening, and intentionally move people through the journey. Okay. So I would recommend setting up a newsletter. I did for the first, year or 2. I was using the LinkedIn newsletter before I started my email newsletter. The reason that I recommend the LinkedIn newsletter is that there is less friction when you are talking to people in the DMs to subscribe to your LinkedIn newsletter than there is to sign up for your email newsletter, right? Like if I send you a link in the DMs, and I tested this extensively, if I send you a link in the DMs and it's a link to LinkedIn, you are going to click on that at a way higher rate than you will if I'm sending you to my website, because you're not leaving the platform. So there's like implied kind of safety and some credibility. Plus LinkedIn makes it easy to just like click the button to subscribe. I don't have to give any more information. So it's a seamless, basically frictionless process when you've got a LinkedIn newsletter to get people to sign up for it. Now, here's the thing. You can go back and scrape all of these later, right? Like it's not like, hey, if I get them to sign up for a LinkedIn newsletter, gosh, I'll never be able to get their email address. That's not true. Like we converted a good number of people from the LinkedIn newsletter to our email newsletter. Now you can do that through scraping, and you could do that through reaching out to them. Like you can say, hey, we're moving our newsletter to email. Would love to have you subscribe. So there's a number of ways that you can do that. So you're not losing the opportunity, and you're still getting them to engage in a middle of funnel resource. If you already have an email newsletter, just create 2, copy and paste it. We did that for a period of time. You don't have to create new content for it necessarily, but you can just mirror the email newsletter that you have. Now, the reason we actually ended up stopping was because they were getting 2 emails at the same time. No one ever complained. No one ever said anything. Our subscribe rate was like incredibly low. Like, so it wasn't an issue, but I just, at some point in terms of optimizing things in the ecosystem and the funnel, you say, okay, I don't want people getting 2, like from a customer experience standpoint, but I did it forever. Right. And again, never got any complaints. So you can just copy paste, get the email or get the LinkedIn newsletter going, a lot less friction for people to sign up, and LinkedIn grows it for you. Like, as you can see, I haven't published this newsletter in over a year, right? It's been a year, and I'm still getting subscribers. Like, it's like not as many, but I'm still getting subscribers. Why? Because LinkedIn is promoting it. So when you're using their asset, they want their LinkedIn newsletters to be valuable. They want their users to get value. So like, they're going to help you grow it. And if it's a good newsletter, they'll help you grow it faster. So you get some built-in promotion, you make it easy for people to subscribe, and it becomes a stronger asset within your LinkedIn client acquisition system. Then the booking funnel, we already talked about this. Like, basically, ideally, you've got a landing page, a calendar to thank you page, or you direct them to your Calendly with a blurb on the side. But these are parts of the funnel that you're using as the foundation when you're starting your outreach. Getting the foundation in place, cool. We've got the profile, we've optimized it, we've installed some funnel assets, we've got a newsletter going. Now we've got to talk about our content strategy. So listen, I'll tell you what my approach would be starting from scratch. Like right now, we're doing multiple posts a day. We're doing things a little bit differently. But starting from scratch, 5 days a week. If you want, and seven's even better, but if I was trying to get clients on LinkedIn, I would just plan on posting 5 times a week. The more reps that you put in, the easier it'll get you right. The more content you get out, the easier it is to measure what worked. And you just want to be top of mind, and it gives you a chance to get some feedback, to get, content is like R&D, like there's posts out there that bomb and you go, okay. There's posts out there that don't do quite as well, but they lead to booked calls, and you go, okay, that's something. There's posts out there that go viral and then don't do shit. You go, okay, right? So, the content is a big part of this. I'd recommend 5 a week. And that can be something like 1 to 2 branding posts per week. It can be a few authority, credibility, trust. I call them ACT, authority, credibility, and trust building per week. That's like tactical advice. Branding is more personal in nature. And like 1 hand raiser. We have a lesson in here. Mike, one of our clients in the coaching program, managed to get a couple of launch posts to go viral, right? So what he did was he actually recorded a lesson with us and walked us through exactly how he did that. So you can check that out. But really what you're looking at in terms of branding, I'll put a link in here, but you can look at the different types of content. And this is what I mean when I say 1 or 2 branding posts and 3 authority, credibility, trust posts. What I mean by that is you go to my content, and what you'll see is this is a YouTube promo, right? So I actually, if you go here, this is going to be teaching, right? So teaching, that's authority, credibility, trust. You scroll down. This is actually a launch post. So this is, I'll plug this example in there because we just launched this one. So, but this is a launch post for a program for our boot camp. You get down here, this is another YouTube promo, and that goes about product type services. This isn't very tactical. It's more, this is like my opinion, right? Like, are you hiding behind a big lofty vision? It's great to want to change the world, but basically, like, a lot of people hide behind that and don't get the shit done that they need to do right now. Like, they get stuck on this big vision thing and won't do the stuff they need to do today. Well, that's not very tactical. That's not teaching you how to sell. It's not teaching you how to market. It's not teaching you how to, hire your first salesperson. So it's not necessarily what my consulting clients would say, yeah, like that's why we hire Ray and give him the big bucks. Or that the community and like the consultants that I work with and help coach go, oh, that's the reason. But, it's a personal picture. It's, it's kind of an opinion here. This is another YouTube promo. This is also an opinion. So I'd put this in terms of personal branding. Like, entrepreneurship doesn't fix burnout. In fact, for a lot of people, it does the worst. It does the opposite, because you carry the habits that you had in corporate into to entrepreneurship. Well, it's, again, not tactical, not teaching, not training. So you want to mix it up at the end of the day. If you only post highly tactical content, then it's going to be tough to build an audience. But if you post all your, like branding posts and opinions and things that tend to be more popular, then you might get some things to go viral and all that shit, but it won't necessarily make you any money. And like we had a coaching client a couple of years ago that ended up with a post that did something like 71,000 likes, right? Like, and it was like a Simon Sinek meme or something like that. And it got 71,000 likes. Insane, dude. Like, how many newsletter subscribers, how many leads, how many booked calls, 71,000 likes and millions of views translated into something like 35 or 36 email subscribers. And I thought, oh, all right, like that is not what you want. All right. Like you want content that actually converts. So mixing it up with some opinions and branding and authority, credibility, trust building will help a lot. And then 1 CTA per month. Like 1 launch post per month. You've got to sell shit. Like, even if you're really good, even if you're, you've got good reach on your content, occasionally you have to ask. You've got to ask people to buy stuff. And that's a hand raiser CTA type of post. Yeah, once a month is what I would recommend. You don't want to overdo that. Like, think of it like building up your poker chips. Like you're basically, you don't want to, every time you get a few, like spend them. So, build up some poker chips, like give some value, like, to your audience. Teach and show and give, and then occasionally ask, because that's why you're doing this. I recommend posting when other creators are active, because other creators are going to be the people that engage with your content more than your customers and clients. And if your customers and clients are creators, okay, then all the better. But for those of you that if you're selling to IT companies or you're selling to, in a B2B market or something like that, what you'll find is that the creators, the other people that are creating content that help you get reach on your content because they're the ones that are engaging because they want people to engage with their stuff. So I like to post when they're active, when we're active, because I'm going to get more engagement that way. So I would post between like 7 and 9 Eastern, and I have for years now. We've got a second slot that we use that, for the afternoon, but this is when we usually post up in the morning. I would drop a newsletter every single week, and then the CTA of that newsletter would direct to the lead magnet or to book a call. And that depends on where you think people are in the funnel. If you think your newsletter subscribers are people that are being nurtured through the cycle, then, drop in a book a call, right? Like maybe this was the newsletter that hit home for them, and that's the CTA they need. But at the end of each of those newsletters, I would have some type of CTA that compels them to take further action and either get the lead magnet if you don't already have their email address, to book a call with you, or even just consume more content at the end of the day, right? If you can get them to consume more content, then that's just as good. So send them to some more posts or something, but you want to keep them engaged while you have them as much as possible. What I would do is I would keep an idea log of ideas for content. Okay. So I have here, this is like how to build a content system. I actually give you the link to a Notion, and this isn't this is like the actual system that we've used for quite a while. And a complete replica, right? And so you've got this is in the community. If you've got it, you can look at the calendar. I would do all this, but this, like the ideas, like just keep an idea log. Like every time, once you start creating content, I assure you're going to start seeing more opportunities to create more content, right? Like when you start writing, you start going, oh, that's a good post. That's a good post. That's a good post. And what you don't want to do is sit down and stare at a blank screen when it's time to create content. Okay. And I've got some stuff in here about scheduling as well. Keep something that's an idea drawer for you, however you want to structure that. And you can use this if you've got access to it. If you don't, use an Apple Note, right? Like just keep an Apple Note with all your ideas. And then when you sit down to write, go look at the Apple Note, fire it up. And then we rolling along here, build a content database. So here's the objective. One thing that I missed in starting on LinkedIn was I didn't build a database from my content. It wasn't sufficient. Like I was kind of like on a treadmill. I was creating new content all the time and not effectively repurposing my content or recycling it. So what I would recommend is, as you're creating your content, that you store it in something like this. Like if you're using this Notion, this turns into a database. Like these are all your posts and your ideas and everything turn into a database. And you can go into Shield and you can export those posts from 5 months ago. You can go into Notion and just reschedule them, right? You can go in here and basically just duplicate it, reschedule it. And you can use that to either supplement your morning slot, right? Like if you're posting 5 times a week, you can take the top third or the top quarter, based on the performance of those posts from 5 months ago. So export it from Shield, look at the ones that did the best, take the top quarter or the top third, and then say, okay, I'm going to reschedule these. I'm going to add those back into my database, and I'm going to duplicate them. Okay. And I'm going to either use that to create less content now, right? So I'm going to use that and kind of mix it into my original content. So that 7 a.m. slot, or you could do, we actually created a second slot from that content. So the afternoon content that we have is effectively almost always recycled content or repurposed content from 5 months ago, 6 months ago, 9 months ago, whatever it is. And I've kept that system for a very long time. And what it will do, there's some arguments people say, hey, you add in a second slot and, it reduces the reach on the first slot. That may be true. But, at the end of the day, like your net, you're going to get a lot more views and a lot more reach and a lot more potential clients to see your stuff if you are posting twice as opposed to once. But if you don't want to do that, then at least use that content that you've already created and plug it in to your machine for what you're doing now and reduce the workload that you have to create content, because if you can get 5 or 10 good posts from 5 or 6 months ago, well, that's just fewer posts that you have to write. So this is kind of like the content strategy, the content system, and the volume and how you're gonna go about that. Next thing I would do is I would look at creating an engagement list. Engagement is, this is like the double-edged sword, because the thing that I love about LinkedIn is that you can engage your way to reach and getting your content seen by people, like with just pure muscle, right? Like you can sit on LinkedIn, and if you engage with other people's content, if you engage with other creators and other people that are posting content, and you're in there and you're replying to things, and you're making comments and all that, if you do a ton of that, promise you your content will get traction, because some number of those people will start to reciprocate. Plus there's the algorithm will trigger like a second degree connection thing. So if you do that, you will get reach. The first 2-3 years that I spent on LinkedIn, I spent hours a day, like engaging, and it got my content seen, and my content being seen helped me get more clients. Now, here's the way that I would think of it. And this actually isn't even my original idea. Somebody said this on LinkedIn recently. You can criticize the people that are spending several hours on LinkedIn. If you were a sales rep and your job was to do business development, there's a good chance you'd be sitting in a CRM or Salesforce or something for 3 or 4 or 5 hours a day, right? Because that's your job, right? Like that's the work that's necessary to get the results that you want. This is really no different. Engaging is a huge, critical part of getting your content the reach that you want, especially early on. What I would do is I would build a list of active users to engage with. To show you, I still do this. I don't do it as much as I used to, but I have a list, right? I have a list of people that I use to engage. Build a list of 200 active users. Again, you're starting from scratch. Okay, like you're gonna muscle your way through build a list of 200 active users on LinkedIn. And the way that I would prioritize this is, first, I'd find brands and influencers who are already speaking to your audience, right? Like, so I would find people who are selling other services and other things to your audience, okay? Like, because they've already built up the audience. They've already done a lot of the heavy lifting. They're talking to your audience. They're there. They're in the comment. I would start with brands and influencers who are selling something different, but they're talking to your audience. Second is find competitors who are already speaking to your audience. Yep, like I engage with competitors all the time because they're talking to my audience. And if you've done a decent job of getting your messaging right, getting your strategy right, getting your USP, the unique selling proposition right, if you've done those things that we talked about early on, you don't have that much to worry about, right? Like you're trying to build high 6-7-figure revenue stream. You don't need to own the entire market. You need to own the segment of your market that's going to truly relate to you. Get some competitors who are already talking to your audience. Again, they've already done the heavy lifting for you. Third, I would say get other creators who are posting regularly and engage with them every single day. This is where the reciprocal effect starts to come in. If most creators see you every day and you've shown up every day, and like some portion of those people are gonna go, hey, you know what? I'm gonna go engage with Ray's stuff. Right? Like he's been commenting on my shit for 2 or 3 weeks in a row. Some will, some won't. If they don't, well, then drop them from the list and get a few other. But you can basically slowly build a list of people that, will engage with your content, which helps get it the reach if you're willing to engage first. And then last, if you've got, some friends, some clients, network who are active and they engage, like, then cool. Of course, if you know some, like if your ICP, if your ideal clients are active and they are posting, then, work that into this. But if I'm building my list, this is basically, I'm going to find big brands and influencers who are already talking. I'm going to find competitors. I'm going to get other creators to help get reach. And then last, I'll find like people that I know if they're active and they're engaging, stuff like that. Okay. And then I would create a spreadsheet of all these profiles that links directly to them. Now, the thing is, don't link to their profile like there's a little shortcut. Link to the part of their profile that takes you directly to their content. And what I mean by that is, instead of going here, instead of using this link, go to this link, show all posts, and use this one. It's going to take you straight to their post, not to their profile. And it eliminate the click, right? But which may sound like a little like, wow, that's a little much on the system. Like, I don't want the extra click, but try doing this with 75 people or 200 people. The extra click matters. So create that spreadsheet and then show that link. And like I said, to reduce the links and get that ready to go. Like this is going to be your asset. This is going to be what you use to get involved. Then I would create your prospecting strategy, right? Like, so we're going to get content rolling. We're going to get the engagement going. Now we're going to get prospecting going. Now we're here to sell stuff, right? Which means we're going to have to kind of be salespeople. And I know that for a lot of you, you're going to go, man, I don't want to do that. I don't want to start outreach and I don't want to be like that salesy person. And listen, you don't have to necessarily. Like there are different degrees of salesmanship on LinkedIn. We'll talk about that in a second. But here's the reality. Here's what I have found. Most people go into LinkedIn with the expectation that, hey, you know what? I'm gonna sit down. I'm gonna write a handful of posts each week, and then poof, like it's just gonna blow up, and I'm gonna have a multi-million-dollar business. And it's not unless you're pulling all of the levers on LinkedIn, which include content, but also include the engagement. They also include what we're going to talk about here with prospecting. What we want to do is we want to set up a strategy that is efficient, that suits your brand, suits your style, suits your personality. And what I'm going to do is just walk you through the plays that I've run from the get-go and still run to this day, many of them that helped me get to, high 6 and 7 figures. All right. The first one is the viewed profile play. And you can actually, if you're a member of the Repeatable Revenue community, what you can do is hop in. There's training here, like that goes further in detail, like, harvesting traffic and, using LinkedIn, the daily LinkedIn process. You can use that. We also have the driving traffic sections, so if you want to hop into here, you can see where we've got, different ways to drive leads to your funnel. But even if you don't have access to that, here's what I would be doing. All right. First is I would be running the viewed profile play. And the viewed profile play is you can see on LinkedIn who viewed your profile, right? Like it's you can go here, check your profile, and I can see who's viewed my profile, right? Now, as I'm looking at this, I can go, okay, then maybe that's somebody in my ICP or my target market. Maybe that is. And you just send a quick message. Like it's a subtle pitch. It's not, I don't think it's too salesy. This says, hey, Joe, notice you stopped by. Anything that I can help with? Notice you viewed my profile. Anything that I can help with? You're not going to get any hate mail from this. They've done very, very, very little, not from anybody rational. If they stopped by your profile, maybe they were checking out a post. Maybe they were referred. Maybe they saw you in the algorithm. Maybe they saw you in the feed. Maybe LinkedIn said, hey, this is somebody that we recommend to you. Who knows? Right. And the name of the game here is start as many conversations as possible. Then we have the inbound connection engagement. And what I mean by this is when people send you connection requests, start conversations with them, right? So I hop over here, hit accept, and then reply with a message that says, hey, Joe, thanks for linking in. What led you to reach out? Like something simple. It's subtle, but you're starting conversations. And, think of it this way. Like if you walked into a networking room, which is what LinkedIn is, you would walk around and you would start shaking hands and what do you do? And what do you do? And okay, cool. And exchange business cards and all of that jazz. That's what LinkedIn is, right? Like you're starting as many conversations as possible. And it's part lead generation, part business development. Okay. So they send you a connection request. Well, content engagement. So people that engage with your content, this isn't necessarily a pit, right? This is just a way to keep people engaging and boost reach on content. But people that like your post, people that comment on your post, send them a quick message. Say, hey, Joe, thanks for engaging with my post. Much appreciated. Look forward to engaging with you more around the platform. And then put a link to the post because they'll forget. A lot of times, like they've engaged with 10, 15, 20 people. They've forgotten your post. So put the link to the post. What's going to happen is because you're DMing them, you're going to show up in their feed, right? Like, so because like LinkedIn says, you're having a conversation. We think this is relevant. So tomorrow when your post goes live, when they get on LinkedIn, your post is going to be at the top of their feed, which means there's a higher likelihood that they're going to engage with it again. And getting engagement on your content is important in terms of getting reach. So this is just a way to get people who liked your post for engaged with you to continue doing that. Then we get into outbound prospecting. And I think, outbound prospecting, there's a couple of variables here. It's like automated versus manual. And then there's cold outreach versus warm outreach, right? And I'll start with the automated versus manual. A lot of people debate this. I think it's really a function of a few things. If I'm making a decision on whether I want to do automation or I want to do manual, a few things that I would consider are the ability to clearly find my audience. And what I mean is if I can, from the outside looking in, if I can say you are clearly in my ICP and you would be a good fit for my services. An example of that might be if your website isn't here, right? I can go to your website and I can look, and if your website sucks, I can clearly see that you need my help, right? So if I'm going to send some outreach to you, I'm not going to do that with an automated thing. I'm going to do that personalized because I know for a fact that you can use my services. So I'm going to send something that's more personal. If I'm, on the other hand, selling something like mindset coaching to senior executives, just because somebody's a senior executive doesn't mean they're in your market for mindset coaching. There's so many other variables that go into that. That's something where you may say, you know what, I need to get more efficient with my outreach and cast a slightly wider net and let my content and my headline do some of the work for me to identify the people within that subset of the audience that is a good fit for me. Okay, so the easier it is for you to spot your ideal client and a perfect fit for you from the outside, the more I would lean towards manual. And the harder it is to do that, I would lean more towards automating. Now, this isn't a binary thing. Like, it's not like it's one versus the other. You can mix these things up, but that's the one factor that I would really look at. Another one is the size of your audience, the total available market, the TAM. If you have a huge audience, right? Like if I'm selling to all small businesses, which, by the way, good idea. That's too wide of too large of a niche. But let's just say you are. Then, you're going to need to run automation. You're not going to run out of leads for that, right? If, on the other hand, you have a really targeted niche audience that's just 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 people, then you're probably going to want to do more personalized outreach. Okay, that's another factor that I would look at is how large or how big of the TAM is there for me to go after, and am I going to potentially burn through the connections in a short period of time if my audience is too small? And then the third one is the time that you have available. Now, I would be honest with yourself here, right? Like, is the time that you are spending right now generating the results that you want? And if it's not, then cut that stuff out of your schedule, and I bet you have time. Okay, so a lot of people say, I don't have that much time, so I've got to automate this. And what they're really saying is, I'm afraid to do prospecting and I'm going to let the computers do it for me. But here's the thing, like, automation is more efficient for you. It's less efficient from a sales process standpoint. Okay, so how much time do you have available? When I started, everything was basically manual, right? Like, I was doing a lot of manual work, all the engagement, all of the content creation, all of the scheduling, so it was all very, very laborious. Then as clients started to come in and the business started to grow and I started to hire some people, well, I legitimately have less time. And the time that I'm spending today is generating revenue. So I engage less than I used to, and I prospect less than I used to. If you have the time, investing it into some manual prospecting that you can personalize the outreach and things like that might be helpful. If you don't, then, automating it. And that's another factor that I would consider. So those are three variables that go into this. There's probably more when you really think about it, but wherever you land on this, right? Like wherever you land on automated versus manual, you're really going to look at it and you're going to say there's cold outreach and there's warm outreach. Okay. Cold outreach, I'm reaching out to strangers, people that don't know who I am. They are brand new connections. They are brand new followers. They are brand new to my ecosystem and to me in general. And then the warm outreach are the people that know me. What I recommend if you're reaching out to a cold audience is don't pitch slap people right away, right? And what I mean is I get a lot of messages from people that it's basically like a connection request, and then it's a, hey, nice to meet you, book a call. Well, like, if you're running enough volume, right? That there's some companies that actually like create burner accounts on LinkedIn and shit like that, just so you can run thousands and thousands of connections a day. Like at some point, like you're going to find somebody, right? That may buy your stuff, but that's probably not what you want to do. And if the goal, as we were talking about up here, is also, some thought leadership and some brand building, then that's not a good way to do that. So I would not recommend necessarily pitch slapping people right away, but I also wouldn't recommend like trying to be people's friends and being afraid to sell stuff. Like LinkedIn is a business platform. Like everybody on LinkedIn is trying to sell something. So You don't have to go all overcorrect all the way to the other end of the continuum and be like, hey, I'm afraid of pitch slapping, so I'm just not going to sell anything. You want a balanced approach, like something in between. Here's what we're currently looking at and what we've seen work for the most part is send an invitation, like a connection request. The no message works best, I would say 90% of the time. A few markets that we've seen where it doesn't, but overwhelmingly no message in the connection request, ironically enough, gets more connections. And what you're aiming for here is like at least 30%. You want at least a 30% connection acceptance rate. And if you're above that, then you'll be pretty solid. So I would send the invitation, and then if you're doing automation, which you can do with you can send that invite with automation. If you're using automation, I recommend Dripify because one, the UI is decent. I mean, it's not a reason to pick software, but it does help that it doesn't look like garbage. But they have a good development team that keeps up with LinkedIn fairly well. We've used them over the years, and they have good service. Like they're very responsive on the support side of things. And they have like a feature on here for, basically activity control where they adjust, the outreach and the stuff that they're doing. And, to make sure that you don't get flagged or your account shut down. And I have used Dripify for years. I know many people, 100 that have as well. And, haven't had accounts shut down. So that's like in LinkedIn for me as a client acquisition system is really important. So I trust that Dripify is doing pretty well, and their track record speaks for itself. There's a lot of fly-by-night companies. I don't trust. I'm not going to trust with one of my most important assets. So I do recommend Dripify. If you're in the community, you've got some lessons on getting this set up. Like it's fairly intuitive. Like even if you don't, like you can figure it out. If you're even reasonably technical, you can, set up a campaign and you go into Sales Navigator and copy paste the link into Dripify. You can do that. But there's the lesson if you need it. So send an invitation, no message, and then send basically a light message to introduce yourself and give them an out. And what I mean by that is you can go over to campaign, go into sequences here. And so, we actually view the profile first with this and then send an invitation. And then, this says, thanks for linking in, so-and-so, look forward to building on the connection. We've got quite a few resources to help make client acquisition and fulfillment repeatable. Actually just made online client acquisition system free, no strings attached. If it'd be useful, cool. Send over a link. If not, great. Please be sure. Pleasure to be connected and hope to have the opportunity to engage more here, right? So it's like, it's a pitch-ish, but it's not, it's not too salesy. But for the person that does see, remember, you've got the headline at this point that says, this is what we do. They go, they get the message. All right. Now they've already connected and accepted the request. And we get a lot of people that just say, yeah, sure, would love to take a look at it. And we send that over, and then they're in our ecosystem, right? Now they've given us their email, and they've gone into our marketing machine basically, and we can use the newsletter to nurture them, things like that. So something like this is a pretty good start. You can see here we don't send any messages after that. Like we might do like a passive aggressive, like just view their profile, to see, because people check like, oh, what are they looking at my profile? What I've also seen work is send a message to bump it up. Afterwards, like on Dripify, you can add multiple messages. You can add, send a follow-up that says, hey, the LinkedIn inbox is pretty shoddy. Just wanted to make sure you saw my message. Hope things are going well, right? And kind of bump it up. And then, you can send a message to exit gracefully with like an offer to engage more too, but I would leave these as much as possible on a good note, because they're going to see your content. Right. So you don't have to make the sale right here. You've got a lot of things working for you in LinkedIn at the same time. So, try to exit gracefully if you don't get a conversion here. We're only using one message. I've never used more than 3, but it's not been my style from a sales standpoint. And then if you're sending things manually, what I recommend doing is send voice notes. Voice notes are great. You can only do it from your mobile. But send a voice note that is similar and make sure it's personalized. You know, if you're going to spend the time to send a voice note and do manual prospecting, it is a complete waste of time if you're not personalizing the message. Okay. So go to their profile, find something interesting about their business, find something that you share in common. Like, you don't have to do a deep dive to find something, but, you know, just say enough that's personalized to ensure that, hey, this person actually took a second to send a message. Goes a long way. And the voice note just makes it more, you know, like you're really leveraging the manual part of this because it's more human, right? You can't automate that. I mean, not yet, not that I know of. So those are a couple ways to get started. Then, you know, once you get conversations rolling, you know, like, so if you're doing all of this, like if you're sending messages here, you're sending messages here, and you're sending messages here, and you're sending messages here, you're going to start conversations, which is the name of the game in this whole thing. And if you're, I call it sell by chat, basically, like if you're, you know, selling in the DMs, end all your messages with questions to keep the conversation going, right? Like, don't end with a statement because it's super easy just to like end and move on. So I try to end all conversations with question to keep it engaged. Keep it conversational, right? Like you're texting someone. You know, don't get all formal. Don't make it. I mean, it doesn't mean you have to use slang, but keep it conversational. Keep it human. Like I wouldn't automate any more than this. Just my preference. But you keep it organic, like they're actually talking to somebody. Then, you know, lots of white space. Like what you'll see in just general copywriting tips too. Like you'll see like almost every sentence is a new paragraph. And keep it short. Like this is actually long. Like this is probably the longest message that we've sent. It converts well, and it's a lot of information packed into it, but we're just trying to like build audience here for the most part. So this is actually the longest that I would make up a message, and I would keep it shorter than that. We do have, if you have access to it, we have all this training in here for sell by chat. So you can go into here and, you know, there's some philosophy, some examples, all of that. So we've got some modules in there if you want to check that out. But it's, you know, if I were giving any piece of advice, it'd be like, almost treat it like you're texting somebody, you know, like that's the style of messaging people don't want. It's, you know, if you get super formal and all of that, it's going to lose its impact. And then the thing to remember is the DMs, like what you're doing in the DMs directly relates to the feed activity. Okay. What I mean is when you're messaging somebody, your content shows up the next day or later that day in their feed. So starting these conversations also gets your content to the top of the feed, and your headline is going to do a lot of the heavy lifting for you. Okay. So this is where the pieces start to come together. You've got your content going, you've got your DMs, you've got an optimized profile, your headline. That's what I mean when I say LinkedIn is an ecosystem that you've got to pull all the levers. So you're starting a bunch of conversations. You've got a really powerful headline. You're doing some really strong, you know, sell by chat. You're going to initiate some prospecting opportunities. Then the other thing that I think gets overlooked on LinkedIn is selling and marketing to your existing connections. Like we focus so much on getting new leads and new people into the pipeline and new prospects. But we forget, like, hey, there's people already here. And, you know, one thing that I love to do in Dripify is, I call it the 201 lesson, but really what it is setting up automation to reach out to existing connections. Now you can reach out to existing connections and talk about a launch. Like maybe you've got a new offer that you're promoting, something like that. Or maybe you're starting conversations. Why? Again, because it's all connected. Right. So if you're getting conversations rolling, your content's getting seen, and, you know, you've got this cyclical effect. So, you know, you can go into Sales Navigator. If you've got Dripify, go into Sales Navigator, go to your first degree connection, filter down to your ICP, copy and paste that link into Dripify, create a messaging campaign to start conversations with your existing connections. Boom. So by this point, you've got 3, 4, 5 different ways that you are starting conversations, and you're leveraging them really well with some good sell by chat here. There will be opportunities. That, coupled with your inbound, coupled with engagement, coupled with everything else, this is how it pulls together. Now, I think the challenge for a lot of people is, how do you block time to do it? right? Like, how do you have the time to do this? Now, if you're early stage and you're just trying to get to your first high 6, 7 figures, you've got the time, right? Like, so I have this checklist that I broke down into daily, weekly, monthly. All right. Daily, all of these things I would time block, right? Like I would get a calendar and I would put these on as recurring block every single day, and make sure that I stuck with them. Discipline here is absolutely crucial. So block the time in advance, block an hour to engage before your post goes live. Like, so get your list, you've got your list of connections, start engaging with that list an hour before your post goes live. So if your post is going to go live at 7 a.m., hop on at 6, start engaging, go through your list, boom, 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 boom. When your post goes up, stay on LinkedIn, reply to everybody that engages in your content. Like if they comment, make sure you're replying back. Like, don't leave that stuff hanging, especially early stage. So reply back to people and keep engaging. Like, keep talking to people. Like, remember, when you're looking at a LinkedIn news feed, see this? Like, this is the algorithm saying, I may not know this person. In this case, I do, first degree connection, but this person commented. This person commented, right? So you commenting still gets you on the feed, even with its other people's content, okay? So stay around for 30, 60 minutes. Then run the posting play. This should only take about 5 minutes. This is actually from Justin Welsh. And you basically have an accountability partner. This was my wife for a long time. And she would, when my post would go live, she would like it, she would comment, she would reshare, and that tells the algorithm, hey, this content isn't terrible. Like, it's somebody engaged with it, and it just triggers a little bit of activity. Get your company paid to like it, to comment, to reshare. Yes, I'm aware that's probably going to be you talking to yourself on your content training again, but it works. But it's so, get your comment, your company page to comment. A VA can run this play for you eventually. The other thing that I would say is, like your own posts. I would add the like your own post. Again, strange, I get it, but it works. I've run this and tested it with and without. Huge difference. Now, the bigger your audience gets, the bigger of a difference it makes, but you need every little bit at the beginning. So like your own post, get an accountability partner, get a company paid. That'll help, get jumpstart some things. And don't worry that you don't have to do this forever, right? A VA can do this for you at some point. Like, once you get rolling and get it in motion, so don't feel like you're stuck doing this forever. Then I would block, so you can do that in about 5. Then I would block about 15 to 30 minutes to run the viewed profile play. Okay, so again, like we go to our profile. Like here, you can see who viewed profile, boom. So block 15, 30 minutes, go through the people and start those conversations with the template. Like, keep all that stuff, like in Notion, something like that, like copy paste for the most part. This should be efficient and super easy SOP to have a VA do at some point. Then 5 to 10 minute inbound connection engagement, same thing. Like, this is the template that we had talked about earlier, copy paste, boom, boom, boom. VA can do that for you eventually. One thing to note here, once you get to 20,000 connections, I would only start accepting people that are in my target market. Up to that point, if it's a valid profile, even if it's another creator outside of my space, something like that, if it's a valid profile, then I would accept it. But once you get to 20,000, you've only got 10,000 more connections. You can have as many followers as you want, but you only get 30,000 connections. And your connections is how you run these outbound plays and stuff. So you need that as from a prospecting standpoint. Otherwise, you got to start going to other accounts and stuff. So once you get to 20, then get maybe a little bit more selective. 20 to 30 minutes to DM people who engage with your content. That's people that like and comment, and that's running that play. If they're in your ICP, just a simple thank you. If they're not in your ICP, if they are in your ICP, you can consider asking a question that, like, ending it with a question that, gets a conversation started. I didn't, but it would be one more thing that you could do to get the conversation started. The only thing I would say here is I would be careful to not hard pitch everybody that engages with your content. Okay. Because nothing is going to kill your engagement long-term more than feeling like, hey, every time I like his post or comment on his post, I'm going to get hit with a hard pitch. So I'd be cognizant of that. Treat this play with some caution. But send thank yous, get people to continue liking, engaging, and getting your content in front of them. Then 30 to 60 minutes for like daily inbox management, right? Well, if you're doing all this, I assure you, I promise you can't do all of this that I've got here and not have conversations and not have DMs to work through and not have to block some time to go through your DMs. And the more you do, the more you're going to see. All right. So block some time to do that. And then I would block an hour to engage again in the afternoon with other creators. I would go through that list and find out who's got afternoon posts, who's doing 2 posts, who did I miss this morning, whatever that is. Like, but I would spend an hour engaging in the afternoon. Now, here's the thing. Is this a lot? Yeah. But like I said before, you want to think about being on LinkedIn like you would if you were a sales rep. Like, this isn't you jacking around on social media for the hell of it. And you just like, you have to be disciplined, and you've got to understand why you're here, the purpose of what you're doing, the outcome that you're looking for. And if you're doing this, you're going to get activity and you're going to be on the platform a lot. Is it a lot? Yep. Do you need to do this forever? Nope. But I'll get to that in a second. So those are the daily things that I would block. Weekly, again, I would get this on your calendar, like put them on recurring stuff. Like, be diligent about this. I would block 4 hours to write 5 posts a week. And I would try to get a buffer. Like, nothing is worse than feeling like I've got to write a post for tomorrow. I've got to write a post for tomorrow. I've got to write it. And then the content sucks. You're under pressure. So I would try to get a 2-week buffer built up, and then 4-hour blocks every week, and just sit down and write. Right. Use your ideas from your Apple Notes or your Notion content system. Like, leverage that so that you're not facing like writer's block. Get 30 minutes to schedule content. I would not do these at the same time. I've just found the context switching is kind of like the creator mindset of writing stuff, and then the technical part of getting it all organized, scheduling it and all that. I think you lose time and efficiency. So I would like block this time for writing, and I'd block this time for administrative stuff. Again, you're gonna have a VA do this at some point. I'm not currently using a scheduler, and I wouldn't right now. There's a ton of tools, Buffer, Taplio. I've used like all of them, Hootsuite, you name it. But right now we're just scheduling it natively. It's basically the same, and it's easier because, if you post some formats like carousels, you can through schedulers, you can with others. There's kind of an ass whip. So I would just schedule it natively. So just block 4 hours to create the post, 30 minutes to get it all scheduled, and then 90 minutes a week to write your newsletter and get that scheduled. Now, what you could do here is you could use like popular posts. You could just look at the posts that were there and just expand on them, right? Say, okay, that was clearly a good topic. Let me expand on that one. You could use objections from sales calls, which I love. Like, go through and take the top 5 objections that you have for sales in your business, and write newsletters to address those proactively, like preempt the objection. Now, here's the cool part. You're doing 2 things. One is you're getting your content out, and it's good content, and you're preempting through people that read it. The other thing is you're building an asset library. You're building a database of content that you can use in your funnel at strategic points to help warm up leads. So go back to the booking funnel, like the bottom of funnel thing that I was talking about earlier, that process where you've got, the calendar and then, the sequence that goes out. Well, you've got a thank you page in there. On that thank you page, I like to put a video and 3 or 4 pieces of content. And this is perfect. Like, if you've got things that address common objections, then this is perfect. So that's the weekly schedule. Monthly, I would block 1 hour to review data and 1 hour to add stuff to your database. So 1 hour to go into Shield, like pull your post and say, okay, like what's working? Like, what isn't? Like, what's popping? Did the stuff that worked did matter, or did it just go viral, like with nothing out there? Okay. So look at that, like, and start to make adjustments in your content based on that. And then 1 hour to add to your content database. Like, this is go into Shield, pull the stuff that's popular, add it to your database, plug it into Notion, keep making your life easier as time goes on. If it's as hard to create on LinkedIn a year from now as it is today, then you're not doing it right. Okay. Like, there's a lot to repurpose and recycle. And I would just block some time each month to make sure that you're doing that diligently and not behind the 8 ball all the time. Because if you're constantly like can I get a post up today? This is the type of stuff that never gets done. And that's why you stay in this like urgent phase of things. Okay. So those are my monthly tasks. And then as clients come in the door, you want to replace these functions with automation or delegation. You don't want to eliminate them. All right. This is like, these things work. And what I see happen way too often is people, this works, like it gets going and they're like, okay, I got some clients. And so then the clients come in and their effort on LinkedIn declines, right? Like, and they're like, okay, then they lose the client or they're done with the work and then they've got to like fire all this back up. Here's the thing, systematize this. Like as this works, which it will inevitably, this will get you some clients and generate some cash. Use the cash that comes in to invest in systematizing this. Get a VA and see which of these plays you can delegate, you can outsource with a good SOP. Find automation, right? If you're doing stuff manually, you go, okay, like I don't have the time that I used to. What pieces of this can I automate? Like how can I be really, really smart about this? Or, salesperson. I have a full cycle salesperson that goes in, takes over. And the cool part is if you get a salesperson, they can also wrap their profile on the same thing, start doing the same play. Now you've got twice as much firepower. Okay. But word of warning, do not stop doing these things when they are successful. I know it sounds crazy, like, hey, these things got me success. And then when I got the success, I stopped doing the things, but it is very, very, very common. So document what you're doing and, create some SOPs. Easy way to do that is just like record looms, record a loom of what you're doing. That becomes an SOP for somebody later. And there you have it. That is 8 pages of a checklist of what I would do to fire up my LinkedIn client acquisition system right now if I was starting over again. It's close to what we're doing today, but as you grow, you'll change and evolve and make some tweaks. But this is what I did to get where I am, and I hope it's been legitimately valuable for you.
All right, so you made it to the end. Congratulations. I hope that I've added a ton of value for you. Now, going back to what I said at the beginning, I actually made this originally, the first version of this, for a member of Repeatable Revenue, which is my online business incubator, right? And it is part academy because we've got 100 hours of training. It's part coaching program because I run a coaching call and an AMA every single week. It's part community because we bring in some awesome guests, very hard to access guests and a live forum. It's part mastermind because you can get input and advice from other people, other experts that are in the community. And it's part accountability because we've got an accountability system to help you identify what are the highest leverage things you need to be working on and hold you accountable to working on those things. So it's a little bit of everything that you need to build your business online. If you haven't already, sign up for a free trial. 7 days, 0 risk whatsoever. You can click to cancel. We don't even make it difficult for you. But you can hop in for the trial, hop on a coaching call, go through some of the training, see who you'd be building with, because it really is an impressive crew. Like I'm really proud of the group and the community that we've built there. We always use that trial to make sure it's a good fit for both of us, frankly, that each new person is kind of adding to the dynamic that we have there. So if you have good expertise and you're turning that into an online business to drive it to high 6, 7 figures through coaching or consulting or fractional work, all things that I've personally done over the past 5 years to generate the revenue that I have, give it a try. Hop in, hope to see you there. And if this video has been helpful, go ahead and subscribe to the channel too. Adios.